Hi everyone. This presentation is called 971's Sustainability Practices. My name is Finbarr Crispie. I am a 971 mentor. I help out mostly with leadership and organization. I've been on the team since 2009 when my twin sons joined the team.
And I'm Schuh. I'm the lead mentor on the team, and I've been involved with the team since my oldest son, Austin, was on the team in 2004. So we've been around for a little bit. So there's nothing magic about what we're going to go over this session, and then many of the things that we'll be talking about we've developed over many years over the time that we've been on the team. In 2012, Finbarr and I actually went around to a bunch of teams at championship. Our sons gave us lists of teams, successful teams that we should go talk to, and we came away with that with some ideas of what we could do to make our team more successful and run better. Our intention is to present some of the things that have worked for us. They may not work for all teams, but they've worked for us. And then we're hoping at the end to open it up to questions and maybe a discussion of maybe some things that work on your teams so that we can share ideas and find out things that work on other teams as well. Also, if you have quick questions as we go along, you can ask them and you just kind of indicate to us and we can go over them. If they're longer things, we can discuss them at the end, but there'll be plenty of time at the end to discuss things. So the topics for this presentation. We're going to talk about our team organization, our team culture, our knowledge organization, recruitment, budget, sponsorship, team building, our relationship with the school, and defining success.
So first topic, team organization. On our team, we place a very strong emphasis on having a mentor-student partnership. The team is structured so that students can learn real-life engineering, business, and life skills by working side by side with adult mentors, many of them, but not all of them, engineers. Students can join in their freshman year. We don't place any limits on what they're allowed to do as long as they pass a safety test and get trained on the tools. They're encouraged and in fact expected to take on responsible tasks. We don't have any minimum expectations for attendance, except when it comes to attending competitions, when we do look at a student's attendance record over the season, and if we find that they haven't really contributed, we will not excuse them from school to go to a competition. For mentors, we found that having more mentors helps us engage more students. It gives us more one-on-one time. It's not uncommon during the build season to have lots of mentors working in groups of students of 1, 2, or 3, some of them working on code or software, some of them working on assembling either a prototype or a piece of the robot, doing electrical work, working with tools, or even conducting a strategy session. We don't have any formal process for mentors to join, although to be a supervisor you do have to be fingerprinted. There are many roles. Technical include mechanical, design, assembly, tool training, software, electrical, and then non-technical would include helping out with organization, with leadership, with finance, or with the awards. More recently, we found that we've had quite a few of our student graduates come back and help us as mentors. We encourage this as it broadens the team of mentors experienced in the program. And it also helps us because these mentors are already aligned with the team culture and the team goals. Making sure that the mentors have a similar vision for the team is something that we're constantly working on. We have a leadership council, which consists of students and mentors. It meets frequently once every 2 weeks during the off season and once a week during the build season when we find we need to have more frequent meetings just to keep on top of things. The meetings are open to everybody. You don't have to be on the leadership council to attend. Our team secretary publishes an agenda in advance of the meeting, but anybody can table topics for discussion. And then the secretary takes notes and lists the action items at the end of the meeting, and we follow up on these in the next meeting. The student leadership positions change every year. There's a number of roles: captain, president, secretary, treasurer. We have in-house and external manufacturing, purchasing, scouting, awards. There are more.
Part of the reason that it changes every year is that our student population changes and their strengths and things. We have a few like captain, president, secretary, treasurer that are fairly fixed, but the other ones, it depends on how many students we have who want to help with leadership in a current year.
Right. Our selection process consists of, at the end of the year, students who are interested in a particular position put their names forward to lead something they might be interested in. The adult leadership then looks at who's interested in which positions and talks to the students individually to match them up with something that we think they can be successful at. And then the Leadership Council votes on the entire slate at one of the meetings. We're in the process of developing job descriptions for each position. In the past, we've had issues with gaps in expectations between the students and the mentors. So we're trying to fix that by having detailed job descriptions and sitting down with each student at the start of the year to go through and just make sure that we're all aligned on expectations. Our leadership structure is evolving. In the past we had a single captain, we went to multiple captains, and now we're at, the captain is defined as a project manager. When we had the single captain system, we found that some captains were able to, just got involved in the technical details and weren't able to manage the process. Whereas others were able to manage the process, but then they didn't get to do anything technical, leading to a certain amount of frustration and disappointment. So a few years ago, we went with a multiple captain system, and while this worked well in terms of distributing the workload, what we found is that there were areas where things fell through the cracks because we thought Captain A was doing it and Captain B was actually supposed to be doing it.
Or none of the captains.
And none of the captains were doing
supposed to be doing it.
So this year we're trying out a captain as a project manager who will be responsible for all the sub-team leaders, will have the big picture of what's going on, and will manage the entire design and build process.
Team culture. Team culture is an important part of Team 971. We've learned from experience over the years that team culture cannot be changed overnight. And for that reason, it needs to be intentional and it needs to be cultivated. That's why it's important to establish what kind of culture you want and then work toward that. 971 strives to have a safe and welcoming environment for all the students and mentors. We have a policy of no sarcasm, teasing, swearing, or other negative behaviors, and we found that even in the past that even mild sarcasm and teasing is something that sets the tone for the team and will often live on long after the person that instigated it has graduated. So we're very careful about that. Respect. We believe in showing respect for all the members on the team. On 971, there's no hierarchy between newer members and older members, younger and older. Any language that indicates indicates otherwise is not allowed. We try to nip that in the bud. As Finbarr said, we have it so that anyone who's willing to work hard and learn can be involved at a high level, and they often do. And this is another reason we have open leadership meetings, so that everyone can be involved when they're with what they're interested in. Respect. I just said that. Gracious professionalism is a tenet that we take very seriously on Team 971. We emphasize working toward a high level of respect, both on our team and within the FIRST community. We emphasize that our reputation as a team is important to us, and we strive to live up to that reputation. Any feedback we get from other teams that any mentors or members are not behaving well toward other teams, we take very seriously. I used to give a talk before every competition about how reputations are hard to establish but easy to lose, and I don't even have to give it anymore. The students just work it into their pre-competition presentation without me having to say anything. Next.
Okay, how do we organize our knowledge? Not like this. We have a team website. It's frc971.org. It contains a lot of information on team organization, on training, links to our team calendar. We put all of our events on Google Calendar, as well as resources for other teams, such as links to our technical documentation, RobotCAD, and previous year's software. And you can also find a ton of photographs from our team photographer, Steve, who just left the room, as well as many others.
Yeah, we strive to have, our goal is to have the answer to any question be, it's on the website.
Go to the website. That's
Go
the
to the
first. That's the
website.
first answer.
Yeah.
We use Google Drive for information that changes more frequently, or for stuff that's more private, such as meeting notes, purchasing lists, financial reports, scouting, strategy, awards, things like that. We encourage everyone to generate documents in the Google Drive because it helps transparency, it helps us to review things, and it's also available for future reference because we do reuse a lot of material from year to year. For email, we have a general e-list which is set up through the school, but this is used for more general communications. For more team-specific communications, we use Google lists. We have a general one for the team, and we also have one specifically for the leadership that goes out only to the leadership members.
And the team Google group has viewing access to all of the Drive files, and then the leadership list has editing privileges to all of the files. So
last year we started using Slack as an additional tool. We're still experimenting with how it works for us, but so far it seems to be going okay, and we're going to continue using it this year. Recruitment.
in some ways we're always recruiting, but because we talk about the robotics and the team in the community, because you never know who might be interested in robotics. Some of the ways that we recruit. In the spring, we put up flyers around the school and send them out to the middle school students because we have an open house of the Sunday after graduation, after school's out. We found this to be a little bit easier for us than trying to give demos at the middle schools because of timing and things. So one thing about 971 is we meet all year round. We're fortunate to be able to use our facilities during the summer. And during the off season, we have a much reduced schedule and mentor involvement. So, but it allows new students to come and learn on the team and to get to know people and to kind of learn how to, how the system works and how to use the tools and all that stuff. We also have a project known as the Third Robot that we do during the summer, and it's a much simplified robot that plays last year's game so that people can get more experience with CAD and different things. And then it also makes it so that the new students actually get to assemble and manufacture a robot, a real robot. And then when we take it to competitions in the fall, they've actually been part of working on that robot when they go to the competition. And we found that to be very, very effective. We show our robot at Back to School Night, which is a parent event, and Club Arena, which is put on by the Student Council. It's at lunch during the fall, so when all the teams, all of the clubs come out and show what they're doing. These are school events where we have a table with a robot to raise awareness about our team. We also find that friends are a great recruiting tool because if students have a good time on the team, they invite their friends, and that's where we get a lot of students, particularly ones who are not freshmen coming in. We'll get them at later years. Integrating new students. This is always challenging. I'm sure other teams have challenges with this also. Because our new members don't show up all at once, it makes it especially challenging, so we kind of have a rolling orientation. We have experienced members who are designated as people that new members can go to at a meeting and ask what they should do and how they can get involved in things, and then We'll do, we have some formal training such as tool training and other things. And then a lot of what we do is we just encourage the students to show up a lot, ask questions, ask people what they're doing, ask if they can help, and then they work alongside experienced students and mentors to get integrated on the team. And we've actually found that we're getting better over the years, as shown by our numbers by grades. We have 4 seniors this year, and we've never really had more than 6 or 7 seniors at a time. Yet now we have a lot more underclassmen who are committed and showing up, and we have up to, we have over 20 juniors, so we're really excited about for the years to come. And I think partly I attribute this to the fact that we've had more mentors in the last few years to work with new students and show them how to do things so that they don't fall in the cracks. And I think that helps a lot. Which leads me to mentor recruitment. We try to make the team a welcoming environment and a fun environment for mentors. They work alongside students to teach them leadership, problem solving, design, etc. We're always inviting mentors, because you never know who might come in and help the team and work with students, because that's really our goal, is to get people working with our students. We've also found that mentors who are new to FIRST need additional encouragement, and they want to, a lot of them are busy professionals who want to feel like they're spending their time in a productive manner. And sometimes coming and working with a high school robotics team is not necessarily productive to begin with. We tell them the same thing we tell the students. You need to show up, you need to ask questions, because it's only when they start to get to know the students that they can figure out how they can interact with the students better. So kind of hanging in there. We also welcome alumni to come back. We welcome our alumni to come back and help on the team. And sometimes when they're off on break, they'll come in and just sitting with students doing CAD and helping them learn stuff and get unstuck when they're having problems can be really valuable. They also provide continuity on the team, because as Finbarr said, they kind of understand the culture of the team. We've been fairly successful on integrating them and making them feel like they're mentors as opposed to students.
What I find is one of our better marketing tools is actually the t-shirt. When you walk around town wearing the t-shirt, because we have a lot of them now, people ask, what's the robotics team, what's it all about? So you just start talking to people about it and they kind of get interested. Okay, budget. Not the most exciting topic, but we do set one every year. The reason for doing that is not only because we want to make sure we spend within our means, but it brings discipline to the spending process, and it's an education tool for the students who learn about financial reporting, financial tracking, and budgeting. So we basically set amounts for the robot, for outreach, for tools, scouting, etc. Then during the year, all of our spending is tracked on Google Sheets. We have a purchasing log where all the spending is tracked. So it's linked live to our financial statement, so that in every leadership meeting, we can look at how much we're spending, keep track of it, and if necessary, make adjustments.
Sponsorship. Finding sponsors. People ask us how we get our sponsors, and I'm not sure that any of the things that we do to get any particular sponsor is necessarily reproducible, because sometimes it's a little serendipitous. But I believe that our success comes down to 3 things. One of them is be a quality team. This is not necessarily a team that wins all the time, but it's a team with integrity. I think it's good to be successful, but we believe that success is measured by the impact the program is having on the students that go through it. We're also always trying to improve our team, improve our organization, improve our outreach, improve the experience for students on the team. Second one is always be promoting the team. We're always telling people what a great program FIRST is. My kids joke that every conversation new people have with us always comes around to robotics eventually, because you never know where the next sponsor may come from, either for your team or for other teams. One of our sponsors actually came through our school district superintendent, because he knew how about the program. So also, even though it looks like we have a long sponsor list, we've accumulated this sponsor list over many years. So it's not like we got them all at once.
And some of these are sponsors in kind. They don't give money. They for example, some of these are machinists that we use for machining.
So, and that brings me to our last point, which is never lose our sponsors. I kind of say that jokingly, but not really. We do this by keeping them informed and feeling like they're valued. I make a point of sending out an email update several times a year to let the sponsors know what we're doing as a team and how we're impacting students. You could have a dedicated student who wants to do this. It just happens to be that I'm doing this at this time. And one thing that I try to emphasize on the emails is not necessarily what we're doing as a team, although we'll send out and talk about competitions we've gone to or events we've attended or whatever, but I try to emphasize how we're impacting students. And I use that with examples and little stories about things that people have done at competitions, and then with lots of photographs showing the students on our team working and growing on the team. Because I really believe that the sponsors are doing this, are sponsoring teams because they want to impact students.
Okay, so team building. One of the things that we do more than anything else is encourage inclusiveness. We have a lot of meetings, especially during the season, but even during the off season, and it gets to the point where the meetings are just a place where kids feel comfortable, they can hang out. It fosters friendships and the feeling of family. And some students have actually come up to us saying how they feel like the 971 team is almost like part of their extended family. We hold a lot of potlucks. They're an important part of our team culture. We started having them so that parents and families could get to know each other and what the team is doing.
We started when my sons were on the team, because we realized once you get to high school, students just go off to high school, and as parents, you never really see what they're involved in, because you don't need to be there when they're at these things. So we started having potlucks so that people got to meet each other.
Right. So we try to have them several times a year. Especially we have one on kickoff day, so parents can see the game and see what their students are going to be doing for the next 6, 8, 10 weeks. We have a mentor potluck. Several years ago, Michael and Wyn started hosting a potluck during the summer at their home for team mentors. It started as a sort of thank you for the mentors, but it's now evolved into a way for the mentors to get to know each other better. And it's also when the graduated seniors are officially invited to join the team as mentors. And then at Christmas time, we have an alumni potluck during the break when the alumni are in town, and they're invited to attend, and they're encouraged to give a brief presentation on what they're doing at school or what they've been doing during an internship. This is a photograph of my son explaining what he was doing during his internship at SpaceX the previous semester.
School relationship. 971 is fortunate that we have a really good relationship with our school. And I know from talking to other teams that not everybody is as fortunate as we are. So we know how fortunate we are to have a good relationship with the school. And even though we don't receive any funding from the school, they do give us a room. And I've been told that there have been people eyeing that room because we're very short on space, but they made a commitment to let us have that room at this point, and that's really important. They're extremely supportive of us, and they basically let us run the program and let us meet whenever we want to meet here. I must say that the relationship has been built over the last 10 to 12 years. It's not something that happens overnight, but it's something that needs to be cultivated, kind of like team culture. As with our sponsors, it's important to cultivate a good relationship. 971 is not run by a staff member. I'm the lead mentor, and so I make a point of knowing personally all the people at the school that make decisions that affect our team so that they know what we're doing. I also send the same updates that I send to the sponsors to a lot of people at our school. I send it to the administration, I send it to the counseling staff, I send it to the PTSA, I send it to the school board so that everybody knows what we're doing as a team. We treat the staff with great respect, including the janitorial and the maintenance staff, and they'll do just about anything for us. In fact, I was going around talking about, what do we do with the garbage and letting us use the rooms and everything. As we've grown, it's our small lab space over there is not adequate for, holding all of the students that are on our team in there. So we need to break into more rooms because our space is small. And because of this trust that we've developed with the school, 971 has been given access to other classrooms, like this classroom and the other classrooms around here. To ensure that this continues, we make sure that all the classrooms are put back exactly the way we left them before school starts again. In fact, sometimes we have to take photographs at the beginning because some of the teachers are very creative with their table layout, so we want to make sure that they're put back exactly the way that we found them.
Okay, so finally, just talk about defining success and what is it? It's not necessarily about having a robot that wins every competition. Our goal is to build a sustainable team that provides an enriching experience for students and mentors, grows to be a world-class team, and has a lot of fun doing this. We are constantly trying to improve. Every year we try to improve both technically and organizationally and engage more students. It's not a one-year process. Some goals take many, many years to achieve. So you should ask yourself, what is your team mission? What are your goals and how are you planning to achieve them? And by measuring yourself against realistic and well thought out goals and working hard to achieve them, success will come naturally. And I want to come back to a point that Wyn mentioned earlier about impacting students. It's great to go to competitions, it's great to have a robot that's winning and everybody's cheering and it's a lot of fun. But success sometimes comes in very, very small achievements. Take the case of a freshman student who comes in, doesn't know one end of a screwdriver from another. Very, very quiet, very, very shy. At the end of the year, she's running a very complicated machine called a router that basically can cut out pieces of the robot. Next year, she's on the leadership council. She's designing the robot. She's making contributions, and you see how that student progresses, and you see that you're impacting her to go into, hopefully, a career in science and technology that might not otherwise have been an option for her. And that, to me, is what success is all about. So with that, thank you. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them. We've got some time.
Yeah.
And
we'd also like to hear what
your
you guys
experience.
do on your team that are different than what we do, or maybe the same, because we're always interested in having a discussion about that.
In the roles you mentioned, year over year you may create and dissolve roles. Is that, did you indicate that was based on kind of student interest, or is that based on what you think is your goals or objectives as a team?
Kind of what we have, what students
the
want to do.
The roles themselves we try to keep more or less fixed. Yeah. But it does the level of responsibility, I think, does change a little bit
Yeah.
depending on what
So,
student
for
profile.
instance, last year, I don't know how, in past years, we send out the thing that says who wants to be involved in leadership this year, and we'll get 5 to 10 people maybe who were interested in doing things, and then sometimes it's like, okay, so we need 3 people that wanted to be captain, so let's figure out how we can work with that and define the captain role so that they can do that together, because it's kind of a big role, so having 3 people doing it didn't seem like a problem. This year I put out the call for leadership and had 23 people, some of them sophomores, a lot of them sophomores and juniors, since we only have 4 seniors. And so suddenly it's like, okay, there are more leadership opportunities than just 4 or 5 student roles. So now we can develop some of these secondary leadership roles, which in the past years, that's kind of been maybe a little bit of a weakness because we haven't had enough students interested in stepping up and being leadership to fill all those positions. So now this year we're working on developing that middle level of leadership so that then they can report progress in manufacturing and design and everything to the project manager.
Question at the back.
You must be experiencing as much growth as we are. I can see it in all the teams that I kind of stumbled upon through national and all that. What's your long-term plan for dealing with so many students interested in the program, and what do you, and it just becomes so big that there's not enough leadership positions for kids, there's not enough touch points. How are you going to deal with that?
Paraphrase the question for the microphone. So basically, what is the long-term plan for dealing with the growth in the team in terms of leadership positions?
All of it. I mean, it's all
Okay.
Well,
part of.
one thing that we think about that, you worry about
That's a constant
having
discussion.
too much success, right? And we're at now about, except for our senior class, about 20 students per grade, and I could see that as being a good goal to be at. And then when we get more than that, we'll have to see how that goes. But the one thing about having a lot of mentors on the team is it helps us integrate the students better. Because the reality is, for an FRC team, there's really always too much work. To build a robot for a competition, you always end up with a few students that are doing spending way more time than is probably healthy. But so with the help of having mentors, we hope to be able to spread that work around more and get more people taking on smaller tasks. So as far as leadership, as we can define tasks during the season, the hope is that we'll be able to engage more students in those roles. Right now, our space is definitely an issue, and our school has said that they're predicting 500 more students in the next 4 years, which is why they start eyeing our room. I guess somebody at the district was saying, well, maybe, the robotics team, they don't use their lab during the day. Maybe we could use that. And the principal says, have you ever actually been in the robotics lab? And she said, no. He says, I tell you what, I'll meet you over there right now. And they opened the door and she said, no, not going to work. So, but but in the next few years, they're talking about building stuff, and that's building new facilities. And so we have a new engineering teacher this year, so we're hoping to develop a program with her and work together with her. So, we're thinking toward the future. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I do think as far as integrating students and getting them to do more, part of having more mentors.
Yeah, having that
really
second
helped.
level of leadership is
Yeah.
critical to do.
So I don't know if that answers your question, But yeah, it's
But
something
I
we,
think as long
think
as the community that we live in is out there marketing STEM, especially to girls, but to everyone, the kids are starting to figure out, oh my gosh, this is important. I need to know this so that I can have some kind of future. I better get a leadership position so I can go to Stanford or Harvard or something top 50 or, do you know what I mean? Like all those things are going through their minds, and there comes a point in time where they're like, the team's going to grow to be so big. How do we manage that?
Yeah.
Multiple teams in a school.
You brought up a good point. In terms of wanting a leadership position simply because you want to put it on your resume, we highly discourage that. I mean, basically, if you're on the leadership in this team, you're working. You're working very, very hard because you have a lot of responsibility.
Well, I don't think that they're not working. I just think we're going to find a lot more kids who really want leadership.
Yeah. Okay.
well, and
How
so
are we gonna
our
fix that?
philosophy, at least at this point, is that we actually have more leadership opportunities than we have students. So if we can actually get them to lead these sub-teams and to lead other students to engage other students in what they're doing and in their tasks, I think that's going to help us. I think that's going to help us grow because we'll be more sustainable. We'll be able to integrate students better. So I kind of look at it as an opportunity. I think the space thing is gonna be tough, but we're hoping. We've talked with the district as far as when they do build new space, having some sort of a part of that plan, so that then we can have, maybe rooms that break out off of the engineering robotics lab, those kind of things. So we'll see.
So there was a question in front here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about recruiting
Mhm.
and new members. Do you have a deadline for when you have to join the team, or
No.
is there?
Maybe someday there will be, but we have people that join all the way up until the build season starts.
No.
We find the closer to the build season they come in, the less likely they'll stick around because it's a little overwhelming. Although we've had people that show up on kickoff and become highly active members of the team. So, yeah, we haven't had to have a cutoff.
So your policy is you can show up anytime and
Yes.
we'll train you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll
Yes.
get less training if you show up the day before kickoff because
I had a follow-up
Obviously, everybody's
question to that.
busy.
So how do you deal with, you don't have an infinite supply of mentor time. How do you kind of intelligently say, hey, I'm gonna train all these kids in shop procedure and safety, and it turns out that, 2 weeks later they're gone? Is that a problem, or is
the
it?
students do a lot of the basic training actually. It's not
Yeah.
just mentors. So we have a student who's in charge of training, and he actually does a lot of the basic tool training and keeps track on a spreadsheet of who's trained and what. Yeah, it's a problem. People do show up for a couple of weeks and they get trained and then they're gone, and we
So-
haven't engaged them. But that's why we like people to come in at a period when there's some activity, like the third robot, because people we think we have a higher success rate when they actually get involved in something, get trained on a tool, or actually building something or designing something, than if they're just waiting around for.
And do you make any effort to, I hate to use the word kick students off the team, but if there's students that are just kind of showing up and.
We don't tend to have as much problem with that, although there are the
If
few.
they're not showing up, no, they just leave of their own volition. We don't kick people off the team. They just don't.
Unless,
Showing
well,
up in distraction.
Well, if
no,
they're a distraction, we
no,
talk
if they're
to them
distraction,
about
we
that.
deal with it, definitely. That's not tolerated. And if they haven't really shown up and they suddenly say, well, we want to go to championship, we'll say no. And that's happened to also.
yeah, but, as I said, a lot of times it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If they don't show up and do stuff, they tend to quit coming. One thing that I've done over the years is I track all the new students that come in. And so we take attendance, but it's more just to kind of see who's coming. And then if people that have seemed interested stop showing up, we'll reach out and see what's going on and with them and stuff. And I've had one student this last year that She seemed really interested, and then I didn't see her show up, and so I kind of reached out to her, and she said, well, I just don't know what to do. And so I don't feel like I'm being useful. And I said, come, we'll work on that. But so, I'd work on getting her working with mentors or other students and trying to get her involved. In fact, I encouraged her, she's going to be our secretary this year, so that, because that's something that you can come in, you can learn a lot about. It doesn't take a lot of previous knowledge. So, that's kind of part of our recruiting and retention. So.
So my team's been very lucky. We've had 2 teachers who have been pretty dedicated to robotics, but I see the handwriting on the wall. That's not going to last very much longer. You guys have, in the past, sometimes had a staff person and sometimes not. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, so when my son joined the team in 2004, the physics teacher, one of the physics teachers was the mentor for the team. And he did it for 2 years, but then he bought a house in Boulder Creek, and it was a little far to come for all of the events. So he stepped down, and then Sarah Good, who was a math teacher and her sons were on the gun team when they were in high school. So she believed in the program, became our staff member. She wasn't an actual coach. She wasn't paid.
She was kind of your teacher of record?
She was our but she supervised, she helped with the team, she was great at student interaction kind of things. And she did it for many years, but then she was the math coordinator. And so she said, I just can't do it anymore. And I don't feel like I'm adding that much value. So then we started to scramble and look for somebody, and at that point, the school had actually required that we be staff members. I mean, you could look on the state of California employment records, and we were right down there at the bottom of the list as far as salary. I think we got $100 a year, but it was so that we were staff members, and they
And that
said
saying we was like you and
Michael and Austin, and then we finally got them to say, we don't really care how much we make. We just don't want to have to be here all the time. So they expanded that. But so they said, oh, you're a staff member, so you can be in charge of it. And that was kind of the start of it. So that's how I became the lead mentor. I don't know, different school districts might deal with that
So
differently.
does your district place any requirements on you for screening mentors or fingerprinting or any of that kind of
For
stuff?
supervision, you have to be fingerprinted.
For
Yeah.
supervision,
So
meaning
anybody-
you have the keys and you are
Meaning
on site?
You are the official
You are the
supervisor
official
for the session.
representative on site?
You are,
Yeah.
yes. You need to have an official supervisor at every meeting, and that person has to be fingerprinted.
Now,
So
we're
there are lots of mentors who aren't fingerprinted, and they cannot be the only person there at
Yeah,
the time.
but we're working toward getting more and more of the mentors fingerprinted, just as a good policy. But, yeah, but our school's been pretty good about that.
Just a kind of simple question, on the Google Drive, sounds like you utilize those a lot. How do you manage the files? Who owns, is it a team account set up, or what's the practical aspect of that?
So this is an interesting thing. Everybody puts their files up there, and so they're actually owned by individual people. We have had issues with that. We at one point had somebody leave the team kind of in a huff or whatever, and they deleted all of the organizational files for our championship trip, so that meant the next year we had nothing to start from. So that can be an issue. It hasn't been a problem, but I found from other organizations that it is good to have it. We haven't done that, but to have it owned by the team or whatever. But
So they're shared by everybody on the list.
Right.
right.
Right,
So
but-
it is an issue. I have also found that you cannot change ownership on PDF files, which is an interesting thing. You have to like copy them and then rename them because they won't let you Google.
And as a staff member, you get like the free Google, dot whatever.
We haven't
email,
pursued any of
unlimited
those kind of
storage
things.
kind of thing?
Yeah, we haven't pursued that. We
Because we're
just-
kind of bumping up against our
Or
free-
drive
our
limits.
limit,
Oh.
the free account.
Yeah, we haven't done that, I guess partly because all of the files are owned by different people, so we haven't really bumped up
But our
against
CAD
that.
doesn't go on Google.
CAD doesn't go
So
on
I
good
think those are the big
version.
files.
The multitude of pictures over the years might be the biggest problem.
I don't know.
Because our pictures are stored on the website, right?
Yeah,
So
but
it's
that's,
stored
I
on
think
the server.
that is actually through our team Google account, but,
That's a
But
paid
yeah.
account then?
I think it's a big account. I don't know.
I actually don't.
I-
Good question.
We haven't had a problem
Hasn't been an issue
recently.
so far.
So on the,
So-
on the third robot, what's the timing, when you actually do that?
We
Is that a summer or a
we
fall? or-
we start right after school lets out, so that's June.
We have a
And-
kickoff.
We're the kickoff, and the goal is basically we have to have it running by the time of the Madtown Championship in early November. So basically you have 4 months. 4 months.
So it is a summer activity?
It is a summer
So it's-
activity.
So your incoming freshmen don't really get heavily involved in that?
Well, we've got over 20 new members this summer, showing up this summer.
We tried to make it mostly a student-driven project. Mentors hands-off on that. So basically.
They answer
They
questions.
answer questions, but they won't do any.
But you are able to get incoming freshmen involved over the summer?
Yeah, so what we found is during the summer, so this project was started because there was a few like sophomore juniors who were like, well, we'd like to design another robot when we've got a lot more time. And so they started doing that. And then it's kind of evolved. If new people want to come in and learn CAD and CAD something, if they spend 2 months doing a gearbox, that's okay. We try to get the CAD done by the beginning of school, and then we can have all fall to do.
And that actually works out quite well, because that's the point where we're actually making things. And we have another crop of students that we get through Club Arena or whatever who come in. And they get their hands dirty and they get hooked on actually building things, so it really works quite well.
Yeah.
And then by the time the end of December comes, they're all sort of clued into what building robots all about, so that when kickoff comes, they're ready to roll.
And then an ever popular summer project is taking apart old robots, which is also a educational activity.
Especially
I just was wondering if you could go into more detail about mentor retention. You mentioned that a lot of the people you're trying to recruit are busy professionals. How do you have so much success with bringing in mentors who stay?
Well, it kind of builds on itself. I mean, as you get more mentors, it means that each mentor has to do less. We got a few that are like uber dedicated, show up all the time, but then, we've been developing a programming mentor team, and sometimes all you need is somebody to come in who knows enough programming to answer questions for the students. We have one mentor that like parcels out tasks for things that we're doing on the robot or whatever, and then just having people that can just be there and answer questions and stuff. So they can start out at a low time commitment, and then, like I said, we try to make it fun. We encourage them to interact with the students. We try to get the students to do as much as possible, and usually what happens is the mentors will show them how to do things, and then the students will take over. But so.
I think one last question, then we have to wrap it up.
What's your normal build season schedule?
Oh, good question. So we used to meet a long time ago, every day of the week. And when Finbarr and I went around and talked to high-performing teams at Championship, we realized that very few, if any of them, actually met 7 days a week. So we currently meet Wednesday night. Wednesday night is our all-year-round meeting time, 7:15 to 9:15. Every week of the year we meet Wednesday night, unless we're going to a competition or something. Thursday night is our leadership meeting, so there's no robot build that night, we just have a leadership meeting. And anyone's welcome to attend that. Friday, we meet from after school until whenever. We have dinner brought in. We set up a sign up through, what is it, Sign Up Genius, and we have like 5 or 6 dishes, so nobody has to bring like the whole thing, so we get a variety of food. Saturdays we meet noon till whenever. We also have dinner that night, and then Sundays we meet noon till try to wrap up 5 or 6, and that's our build schedule.
Okay. All right, there's a break coming up. We'll be happy to take any more questions, one-on-one if you have any, and
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of the series. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Connie.
We are 971.